Today, we are going to be talking about 3 traits that all great animators have. This is exactly why they are super special and they are legends nowadays. Let's talk about it in this week's episode. I cannot start this episode without actually telling you guys about my animation workshop. I have an animation workshop for all those that don't know or are new to my channel. Go and check it out. It's on my website, harveynewman.com. I had many students so far, super happy with everyone's work. They over-deliver every single time, and all my students seem to be super happy with what they're learning. Sometimes you get like very young students that they just want to clarify a few questions. That's cool. Sometimes you get a very senior animator that has 20 plus years that also needs some clarification here or there. That's cool as well. My animation workshop is super personalized to you. So it's basically us kind of like talking about what you need to know or what you want to know, and we maximize the time that we have together to make sure that we tailor a program that is specific to you and that makes the most out of the time and the investment that you did. So if you want to check it out, go to my website, harveynewman.com. I also have a review on Google now. I have a shop, Harvey Newman workshop. I have about 5 good reviews right now, so thanks very much to my students. Go and check them out if you need reassurance, but if you are in need of animation help, check it out. So I think that everyone that starts their animation career, the very first thing they do is basically check who are the best people in their industry doing the most amazing things, right? So your animation journey must have started with you falling in love with animation, most likely one way or the other. And then at some point you probably thought, I'm going to be an animator. Then the journey kind of starts in like you checking out who are the best people in the industry that actually do this. Now, there's a lot of legends in animation, as you might know. The most notorious one might just be the 9 old men, the guys that actually invented the 12 principles of animation, and they are legendary in their own right because they were all talented and they all thought outside the box to the point that they thought about the 12 principles of animation that we all have to learn nowadays. So that's one type of legend in animation. The other one is the one that is like alive and well today, and there's many routes that animators take. Some of them become directors, like a Brad Bird or a Glenn Keane, and some of them just want to animate like the aforementioned 9 old men. Some of them, most of them, they were just animating, they were not directing. The different paths here, but doesn't matter how you flip it, doesn't matter where you go. All these people that I just mentioned, they all have something in common. They all have 3 things in common, I should say. And those 3 things are incredibly important if you want to be a really successful animator. So let's start with endurance. So endurance, as you can see here by the description of endurance, it's the ability to actually endure an unpleasant or difficult situation. Now, animation, as we talked here in the channel many times before, animation is incredibly difficult and sometimes can be unpleasant too. So these people, all these people that I just mentioned, all the great masters of animation that are around nowadays or used to be around back in the day, all had to deal with this, to the point that if you actually look at Hub Iwerks, the animator that Disney used to think or used to say that is the most talented animator that he has ever worked with. Look it up if you don't know Hub Iwerks. He was actually right at the beginning with Walt Disney through it all. But he used to produce more animation in comparison to us nowadays, much more than we do right now. I'm not just talking about 2 times, 3 times more, a lot more. And that was because times were different. And what was different as well at that point was the feedback and the feedback loop that you had to go through. So they didn't have a lot of times, and the teams were incredibly small. So they had to produce an amazing amount of work in a very short period of time with very little people. So the 9 old men, case in fact, they actually had to produce a whole movie just about, just a few animators that were the key animators, and then they had in-betweeners just to fill in the drawings. But most of the drawings of the first animated movies were made by these 9 men, and they basically separated the work amongst them, and they just kind of drew it all. And they made the whole movie, an hour and a half of worth of movie, just them, like drawing everything. and it's incredibly amazing to see how much work they put in. So there was not a sense of 9 to 5 at that point. It was just whatever it takes to get the job done. And obviously that is not healthy nowadays. Times have changed, but it goes to show how much endurance people back then had. And this endurance is shown or seen in every single animator that actually makes it to be a legend. What they all have in common is that when the clock stops in terms of the 9 to 5, they normally have their side gigs or the work or whatever they need to do next. So Brad Bird didn't get to be an amazing director of The Incredibles if he hadn't worked on The Iron Giant. And The Iron Giant is a notoriously difficult project. He himself has said it, and he had to put so much work on that project in order to make it the classic that it is nowadays. However, that project, when it came out, was not such a big project. Everyone knows that when The Iron Giant came out, it was not a box office hit at all. It was just like a movie that kind of just like people didn't notice, and then people went about doing their own things. So when it came out, it was just a movie that underperformed in the box office. However, for everybody in the animation industry, we were amazed by what that movie delivered, because the story and the animation were amazing, and it's still an amazing piece of art nowadays. This endurance and this hard work that Brad Bird put on that movie, The Iron Giant, that gave him later many more opportunities that came in later, including The Incredibles, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, live action, The Incredibles 2, so many other things, Ratatouille, so many other movies that he has made that have been successful. So endurance is very important if you actually want to be an animation master one day, so make sure you keep that in mind as you develop your career. Now let's talk about adaptability. Now, being adaptable is the second point here. So adaptability is equally as important as endurance. And adaptability, the way I see it, means that you have to adapt to whatever the project needs are. And those needs change a lot. Sometimes you actually are, let's say somebody started in film and then they moved into games. Those two needs are completely different, right? Games doesn't need the same things that film does when it comes to an animator's skills. And it's the same thing since way back in the day. So once again, talking about the very beginning in the Nine Old Men, there was a lot of technology that was created from the very beginning when they did Snow White to then later. They had to adapt to this new technology, they had to adapt to having in-betweeners, they had to adapt to new processes, pipelines, and the world moves on and you need to move on with it. You need to be adaptable. And the adaptability doesn't stop there. You have different directors, both games and movies. Directors want different things, and you need to be adaptable to what the director wants. Sometimes you get a director that is amazing, lovely guy that knows exactly what he wants, really cool guy, straight to the point, amazing feedback, awesome stuff. You spend a year or two working with him, maybe more. Love the project, cool. Sometimes you have directors that don't really know what they want, and they are figuring it out as they are doing the project. In those occasions, it's very difficult for you to know what the director wants as you go through the project. And that can be frustrating sometimes. And you need to be able to adapt to that change to make sure that you're still as a professional as an animator and you can still produce as much as you actually were doing before without being in a way inspired all the time, right? So that adaptability works in many ways, and most animators that I know that are incredibly talented are adaptable to no end. Doesn't matter which kind of project is it, doesn't matter if it's 3D, 2D, doesn't matter what it is, as long as you can express yourself and as long as you have some kind of goal to go towards, you adapt to it, you fall in line, and then you go. And that is very important in this career. Last but not least, we have purpose. And purpose, as this definition mentions, is the reason for which something is done. And here, what I mean is that every single animator that becomes legendary in the future, that becomes an amazing animator, has a sense of purpose, as in animation is their life's purpose. And this is why they want to actually go and be the best animator possible. That is basically what I mean. So this is true for every master of animation that you'll actually find out there. And it really doesn't matter if they actually are directors now or they are still animating. As somebody, I believe it was Brad Bird that mentioned before, every animator is a director, they just don't know it yet. And that is a very good point, because when you are animating, especially when you're animating professionally, you start developing an eye for camera setup, for a scene layout, for beats, tempo, momentum, timing. All of those things are things that directors play with. So the way I see it, when you have like somebody that was an animator and now is directing games or movies, they have this built into them, and they know that this animation was the purpose, was the thing that made them achieve as many things as they have. I feel the same way right now, today. I feel like if I'm an animation director as I am today, it's because I had a sense of purpose early on in my life that I wanted to be the best animator possible. And that idea that I felt like I want to be an animator, I felt like I was an animator, and I just had to showcase it to the world the best way I can, is what took me to the point that I am now. And that is very important for you to know it deep inside, that you want and you are an animator that actually wants to come out and express itself. And even before you start working in animation professionally, think about it in a way that even if they didn't pay you, you still want to do animation. So you feel very deeply like, I feel like I need to create this movie, or I feel like I need to create this game, or I need to express my animation through maybe something a bit more artistic. So you need to know deep inside of you that you actually want to do this more than anything else, that this is your life's purpose, to be an animator. This is the most important thing that you have to have. So it gets to a point that you don't doubt yourself anymore, that you just know that this is what you want to do, there's nothing else for you, this is what you want to do, and you need to express yourself this specific way, animation. And this is true for everybody that I know of that is working at a high level, are a master in animation, and have achieved so much in their career. So final thoughts. Getting to the level that somebody like Glenn Keane, that most people here must know, has achieved is incredible and is unthinkable, and it's like, how can I actually achieve so much in my career? It's going to be impossible. But in all honesty, I feel like I'm very far from that, from getting to that level. But I feel like the way you get there is about putting one step in front of the other and slowly kind of making a difference, right? And like next thing you know, you're gonna have a lot of opportunities showcased to you that you're gonna be able to pick from and be like, actually this opportunity right here is the thing that I wanna do the most right now. And then you go into the next thing when that's successful and be like, this opportunity is what I wanna do right now. And you're gonna go into the next thing. And I feel like that feeling is the feeling that Walt Disney, the 9-Old Man, had back in the day. Like, this is an amazing opportunity, cool, we finished it, we put it out, it's Snow White. What's next? What can we work on next that is going to be better than this? So then you go into the next thing. And then when that thing comes out, you go into the next thing. And you just keep on trying to kind of like go up, you know, your career, and make sure that like most of the stuff that you do is successful. Not everything is going to be successful. Everyone fails in it, but it doesn't matter what it is. These three things that you have with you, inside of you, actually give you a sense that this is definitely the thing for you. No matter how many times I fail, I need to express myself. The best example of this is Richard Williams, because he, as you might know, he worked in a movie called The Thief and the Cobbler, and he worked on this movie for most of his life. And he was not working on this movie in order to put it out there. Well, he was initially, but eventually it became a thing that he wanted to express himself, and he really needed to actually tell this story. He needed to actually make this animation the best animation possible and make it as complex as possible. And he felt like there was yet another barrier that could be broken onto the animation. So he set out to do this project, and it took him years and years and years and years. And you can also go to YouTube, check it out, and there's quite a lot of pieces out there that you can actually put the story together. But one thing is for certain, this movie was an expression, an art expression from Richard Williams in order to actually get the audience to feel a certain way. And he was successful in that, and it was not Walt Disney, and it's not like a multi-million project. Or anything like that, but to Richard Williams, I'm pretty sure he was happy doing the stuff that he wanted the most, which was express himself. Because one thing you can tell for sure, I don't think he actually ever doubted that the one thing that he wanted to do most in life was animate all day, every day. And that is basically what I mean by these 3 principles that all great animators have, all legendary animators have. So I hope you guys find that in yourselves as you go throughout your career, because I feel like I have that inside of me, and I feel like this is what is making me slowly better as time goes on. That's all I had for you guys this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't so far, because it helps me a ton. And as always, until next week, stay well, stay safe. Peace.